Hello, travelers. Welcome back to Traveling Beyond Boundaries. My name is Michelle, and I am a cruise addict. Today, I'm here to convince you that cruising is the best way to travel when you have a child with special needs. So, reason number one, cruising is the best option is because of accessibility. So, if your child has mobility needs, they can accommodate that because of the wider hallways. Maybe not as wide as a hotel, but they have hallways that can accommodate wheelchairs and walkers. They have accessible rooms. They even have accessible excursions that you can go on. My child is petite and still in a stroller for her mobility. I don't foresee her needing a wheelchair in the future, but at this time she is not mobile enough to be able to just walk around the ship by herself or like without aids. So it's really nice because I wouldn't bring a big stroller, but I can still bring my little stroller and know I can easily navigate around. They do have, I'm not sure if it's something that only travel agents can access or if there is some way for travelers in general to access, but they do, most cruise lines have accessibility guides that include like mobility pathways, like the most accessible way to get from point A to point B on the ship. Possibly you can do that through like the app or something, but I have not seen that yet, but it's possible. If your child needs something like ASL for shows, totally able to do that. I'm not sure about different sign languages, but I know you can get ASL, but you do need to request it in advance, so make sure your travel agent knows, so that way they can book that accessibility option for you. And like I said, they also have accessible cruises. Yes, accessible cruises. They have accessible excursions. So if your child has a mobility, mobility needs, you can book an accessible excursion for that. If your child has other special needs, you can kind of go by what your child enjoys or doesn't enjoy, or can needs in terms of length of excursions. We are choosing to do short excursions for the most part because my daughter really just doesn't have the ability to regulate herself for a long period of time. So we figure short excursions. With her mobility issues, we are doing primarily bus tours, and we're just able to see what kind of stuff that she can do and still be able to go out and see new things. Reason number two is the variety of activities. You can go on a ship that is full of activities that are meant for kids with water slides and roller coasters and all that stuff, or you can go on ships that are more calmer and relaxing. But you also have a lot of activities that you can try out with your child to see what they like, or maybe you know your child and you're like, my child will absolutely hate this activity, so we won't bother, whereas my child will really like XYZ activity. It really varies by cruise line. For instance, we're going on Royal Caribbean first, and it is a big ship. It is all very busy, and I'm not sure how my daughter's going to like it. The reason we booked it, though, is because Royal Caribbean on select ships have pools that she can go into, baby splash areas, because she is not toilet trained, but she's obsessed with water. A lot of cruise lines, most cruise lines do not have this as an option. So when I was booking a cruise going to Bahamas, I knew I wanted something that she could go into a splash area and play in. Going now and knowing what we have booked coming up, I think we can figure out options for other things. But if your child is a toilet trained, for instance, and you want them to be able to play in something, Royal Caribbean is your only real option, or Disney, which Disney's out of my price range. So, yeah. But other activities that your child might like if you know your child does like water slides or wants to do rock climbing or anything like that, you can go and do a ton of different activities. My daughter loves music, so we're going on a Princess Cruise to Alaska in August, and we have already bookmarked 7 million shows. Basically, if it said someone was going to be singing or playing an instrument, we want to go check it out. We won't probably see everything, but at least knowing what activities your child likes and knowing what activities your cruise line offers, you can kind of see what different activities you'll be able to do. But because cruises offer so many different activities, most likely there's going to be something that your child can do that they will like to do. My child also has sensory issues, so if your child is the same, we don't have to worry so much about having issues that we can't escape from. If your child has sensory meltdowns, you know exactly what I'm talking about, where you need to get out of that place and help them get regulated. And it's hard to do in a bigger place. For example, say you go to Disney and you're going to a parade. It's loud, it's bright, it's crowded. Your child starts to have a sensory meltdown. your options for getting out of there and to a quiet spot kind of limited. Sure, you can go and try to find the baby room or whatever it's called. Maybe there's certain rides or a store you can get into that your child can regulate, but there's no like home base or place that you can go. Whereas with a cruise ship, you can go to a show or a parade even. Royal Caribbean has parades, and maybe Disney has parades. I don't know. But Royal Caribbean, I know for sure, has parades. And your child starts to have that sensory meltdown, sensory overload, and you can easily escape from it because you can go back to your room. I say easily, but if you're in the crowd, it might take a bit to get out of the crowd. But you can escape back to your room. You can escape to a quieter lounge. You can escape to, if your child really gets calm in water, you can escape to the pool area. There's a lot more faster, easier ways to get out of that situation than with a traditional vacation. With my child, she is sensory seeking and also sensory avoiding. So she's kind of a weird, like, flip-floppy. She really is sensory seeking, like she is currently doing right now. But then probably in about 5 minutes, she will be having a meltdown because the noise and the lights and all that are too much for her. So something like all-inclusive vacation doesn't have enough sensory input for her, but something like Disney might be a little bit too much. Whereas cruising kind of gives us that balance because we can pick and choose what activities we want to do, and if she's showing any issues one way or the other, we can quickly intervene. I actually have booked on the Oasis of the Seas a promenade view room, which I'm excited to try out because we can watch the parades and see stuff by sitting in our room. So I'm curious how she'll do with something like that versus being in the middle of a parade. Reason number 3 is the ability to accommodate dietary restrictions. There are places like Disney that do this fairly well, but all-inclusives in a foreign country where English is not the first language possibly have some issues trying to get your point across or your needs across. I'm not going to say all cruise lines and all cruise ships are good at this because there are still a lot of foreign workers, but for the most part, they are all speaking English as a second language, if not their first language. And for the most part, you can get your needs met. Some, like Royal, have a gluten-free option and vegan option on each on their main menu, so you don't need to do anything extra for that. So vegan is dairy-free, egg-free, meat-free. The gluten-free option, though, does still have dairy and meat and egg in it, depending on what the thing is. But sometimes, for instance, if it's a pasta dish and it's the vegan pasta dish, you can get like a gluten-free option added to it instead. And they usually can accommodate no problem. If your child is a picky eater and wants to eat the same thing every night, that usually can be accommodated as well. And they do have kids menus with like simple plain food like mac and cheese or a hamburger or a hot dog or pasta, just plain spaghetti with marinara sauce. Some have like chicken fingers and fries. There's pizza. There's also a million venues on board. So if your child doesn't want to eat in the dining room because maybe they don't have the capacity to do so. My child is strange and is happy playing with a mixing bowl. So I know that is not typical for a lot of children, most children. So maybe the dining room experience is a little too much for them or a little too long for them. There's the buffet. There's usually a place on board that you can get pizza. There's usually a place on board that you can get like sandwiches or French fries and hot dogs and hamburgers and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different venues on board that your child can find something to eat at most of the time, unless they're an extreme picky eater and want like goldfish crackers. Then you might need to bring them. But in that case, an all-inclusive, not any different, right? Reason number 4 is routine. Many children with special needs, including my own, thrive on having a routine. And yeah, you can kind of have maybe a routine at Disney or an all-inclusive or some other like camping trip or something like that, but you're not able to see the world by doing it. There's no easy way to travel from country to country or from city to city and not have and still be able to maintain somewhat of a routine. With cruising, you can definitely do that. You can wake up at the same time, eat at the same place for breakfast, have the exact same thing for breakfast, go out on your excursion. You don't even need to go on an excursion if you don't want to, but that's kind of how you're going to see the world. But you could even just get off the ship and take a walk around, depending on the port. Get back on the ship for lunch, which is what we usually do. have lunch at the same place. We don't eat off the ship. We rarely eat off the ship. Come back on the ship, have the same thing for lunch as every day. Go do the same activities in the afternoon. Often they have the same activities going on every day. It might vary a little bit, but depending on your child and what they like and what they dislike, maybe you can do the same thing in the afternoon every day. And then in the evening, have the same food every night for supper, and then wrap up your night with the same activities. So for instance, trivia is usually at the same time every day. The kids clubs tend to be at the same time every day if your child is going to a kids club. I will say they are not able to accommodate children that need extra staff. They don't have that ability. If your child has a special need and you would like to have a cruise where you can put them in a kids activity and leave them there, check out Autism on the Seas. It is a pricier program, but they can provide you with that respite during your vacation. They are amazing. They are out of my price range, and also my daughter does not need that level of accommodation because I don't need respite on a vacation. But I know for a lot of families, this is a service that is like, there's no price that can be put on this service because it's such an amazing break for families and gets their kids having fun activities while on the ship. Anyway, I digress. What was I saying? I don't remember. Oh, routine. So yeah, so your kid could be doing the same thing every day. You can still have your same bedtime routines and all that stuff. There might be some hiccups with time changes. For instance, we are in Alberta, Canada, which is mountain time. We are going to be traveling to Eastern time this summer in July. Then, well, end of June. Then we are flying back here in July, going back on mountain time to then go over to, I don't know, what's the time zone that's next? Pacific? Pacific time for our Alaska cruise. But I feel like during our Alaska cruise, we also changed time zones. So like there's going to be some hiccups, but for the most part, we can keep a routine at least a little bit, which is amazing because she will love it. She will love it. And my fifth and final reason why I believe cruising is the best for children with special needs is more the medical needs. Medical services on board. Buy travel insurance. Please buy travel insurance. But if your child has any type of medical needs, you want to be on a cruise ship. Disney, yeah, sure, especially if you're American. Disney, you're in the States still, blah, blah, blah. But if you want to travel the world and not just be stuck in the Disney world, cruise. All-inclusives, especially some of the not first world countries, you're not quite sure what you're going to get. If you are in a country that you don't speak the language of, as someone who has been to a hospital in a foreign country where I kind of sort of spoke the language, still not a fun experience at a hospital. So on the cruise ship, they have English speaking staff, highly trained, can get you the services that you need. If you need to be removed from the ship for any reason, they can take care of that. Travel insurance. My daughter has a feeding tube, so she does take food orally. So we do use the dietary accommodations on the cruise ship, but she takes all her liquids orally or by tube. She eats orally, liquids tube. But so that involves some scary stuff sometimes with her, and if she ever had a medical emergency for that or any other reason, even if it's something simple like she spikes a fever or has a tummy bug or something like that, it's nice to know that there's medical services on board that can help her out or help me out. It helped me out too, especially as a single mama. It's kind of nice to have help that is English speaking and is right there. So those are my 5 reasons why I believe that cruising is the best option for families traveling with children with special needs. I hope you found this video helpful. Like and comment down below. Have you cruised with your child before? If not, would you consider cruising with them after hearing these reasons? And I will see you guys later. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We are traveling a lot this summer, and I can't wait to share those adventures with you. And I can't wait to share more tips and tricks as we get cruising around the whole world. 21-day Mediterranean next year, or the year after. What are we doing next year? Norway next year. We're busy. And I can't wait to take you guys with me. Thanks, guys. Bye.